The courtroom felt like a tomb. Vincent Sterling sat frozen in his chair, watching his lawyer of 15 years pack up his briefcase with the cold efficiency of an undertaker. The man who had sworn to defend him through thick and thin was walking away, leaving him to face the most important trial of his life completely alone. "Mr. Hamilton, you can't be serious," Vincent whispered, his voice barely audible over the murmur of the packed courtroom. "The trial starts in 10 minutes. Thomas Hamilton didn't even look up from his briefcase. "I'm sorry, Vincent. New evidence has come to light that makes your case unwinnable. I can't risk my reputation on a lost cause." Vincent felt the walls closing in around him. The fraud charges, the conspiracy allegations, the threat of losing everything he'd built over 30 years, it was all crashing down at once. The prosecution had him painted as a corrupt businessman who had stolen millions from his own company. Without legal representation he would be destroyed. Behind him he could hear the whispers getting louder. Reporters were scribbling furiously, shareholders were shaking their heads in disappointment, and his business rivals were barely containing their glee. This was exactly what they had wanted, to see Vincent Sterling brought to his knees. "This is a disaster," Vincent muttered, running his hands through his graying hair. His heart was racing and he felt dizzy. At 52 he had survived corporate battles, hostile takeovers and economic downturns, but nothing had prepared him for this moment of complete abandonment. That's when he felt a firm hand on his shoulder. "Mr. Sterling, breathe," came a calm, steady voice. "Everything is going to be okay." Vincent turned to see Jasmine Washington, his head of security, standing beside him. Her dark eyes were filled with determination, and her presence immediately brought him a sense of relief he hadn't expected. Jasmine had been working for his company for 3 years, and in that time she had proven herself to be one of the most capable and trustworthy people he had ever met. "Jasmine, you shouldn't be here," Vincent said, trying to pull himself together. "This is about to get very ugly." "I know exactly what this is about," Jasmine replied firmly. "And I'm not going anywhere." The bailiff called the court to order, and Judge Patricia Morrison entered the room. She was known for being tough but fair, and Vincent had hoped that would work in his favor. Now, without a lawyer, he wasn't sure what to expect. "Mr. Sterling," Judge Morrison said, looking down at him with a mixture of surprise and concern. "Where is your legal counsel?" Vincent stood slowly, his legs feeling weak beneath him. "Your Honor, my attorney has withdrawn from the case." A gasp went through the courtroom. Even Judge Morrison looked shocked. "Mr. Sterling, this is highly irregular. This trial has been scheduled for months. You cannot proceed without legal representation." "Your Honor," Jasmine said, stepping forward, "I would like to request a brief recess to discuss options with Mr. Sterling." The judge looked at Jasmine with curiosity. "And you are?" "Jasmine Washington, Mr. Sterling's security chief and legal advisor." Vincent's head snapped toward Jasmine. Legal advisor? He had no idea what she was talking about, but something in her tone told him to trust her. "Very well," Judge Morrison said. "We'll take a 30-minute recess. Mr. Sterling, I strongly advise you to secure proper legal representation before we proceed." As the courtroom emptied, Vincent grabbed Jasmine's arm. "What are you doing? You can't just claim to be my legal advisor." Jasmine looked around to make sure they were alone, then pulled out a folder from her briefcase. "Vincent, there's something I haven't told you. I have a law degree from Howard University. I passed the bar exam 7 years ago." Vincent stared at her in disbelief. "You're a lawyer? Why didn't you ever tell me?" "Because I needed the security job more than I needed to practice law," Jasmine explained. "I had to support my mother and younger brother. Security work paid better and had more stable hours. But I've been keeping up with my legal education, and I know this case better than anyone." "You've been following my case?" "Vincent, I've been worried about you for months. I could see the stress you were under and I started researching the charges against you. I know you didn't do what they're accusing you of." Vincent felt a surge of emotion he hadn't expected. In his world of corporate politics and fake friendships, Jasmine was the first person who had stood by him without any personal agenda. "But you could lose your job if this goes badly," Vincent said. "You could damage your own reputation." Jasmine looked him straight in the eye. "I'd rather lose my job fighting for the truth than keep it by watching an innocent man get destroyed." The bailiff knocked on the door, signaling that the recess was almost over. Vincent had to make a decision that would change everything. He could ask for a continuance, try to find another lawyer, and hope for the best. Or he could trust the woman who had just revealed she had been secretly looking out for him all along. "Jasmine," he said, "if you're willing to do this, I'm willing to trust you. But I need to know, Are you sure you can handle a case this complex? Jasmine smiled for the first time since the ordeal began. Vincent, I've been preparing for this moment my entire life. I became a lawyer because I believe in justice and I believe in you. Let me prove it. As they walked back into the courtroom, Vincent felt something he hadn't experienced in months: hope. The woman walking beside him wasn't just his employee anymore. She was his defender, his advocate, and possibly his salvation. The prosecution team looked confident and well prepared. They had a team of 5 attorneys, boxes of evidence, and the backing of some very powerful people who wanted to see Vincent fall. But as Vincent looked at Jasmine, he realized that sometimes the best defense isn't about having the most resources. It's about having someone who truly believes in your innocence. Are you ready? Jasmine asked as they took their seats. With you by my side, Vincent replied, I'm ready for anything. But neither of them knew that the real battle was just beginning, and the people who had orchestrated this attack on Vincent were watching from the gallery, confident that their plan was working perfectly. Your Honor, Jasmine said, standing with confidence that surprised even herself, I am Jasmine Washington, and I will be representing Mr. Sterling in this matter. Judge Morrison raised an eyebrow. Ms. Washington, are you licensed to practice law in this state? Yes, Your Honor. I am a member of the bar and in good standing. Jasmine handed her credentials to the bailiff, who passed them to the judge. Vincent watched in amazement as Jasmine transformed before his eyes. Gone was the security chief he had known for 3 years. In her place stood a composed, professional attorney who commanded respect from everyone in the room. The lead prosecutor, District Attorney Robert Kane, looked annoyed by this development. He had been expecting an easy victory against an undefended billionaire. Now he was facing an unknown quantity, and that clearly bothered him. Ms. Washington, Kane said with a condescending smile, I hope you understand the gravity of this case. We're talking about millions of dollars in alleged fraud and conspiracy. Perhaps you should advise your client to seek more experienced counsel. Jasmine turned to face Kane directly. Mr. Kane, I appreciate your concern, but I am fully prepared to defend my client against these baseless charges. Mr. Sterling is innocent, and I intend to prove it. Vincent felt a surge of pride watching Jasmine stand up to the prosecution. He had always known she was smart and capable, but seeing her in action in a courtroom was something else entirely. Very well, Judge Morrison said. Ms. Washington, you may proceed with your opening statement. Jasmine walked to the center of the courtroom, her posture straight and her voice clear. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you are about to hear a story of betrayal, conspiracy, and corruption. But the victim in this story is not who the prosecution claims it to be. Vincent Sterling is not a criminal. He is the target of a carefully orchestrated plan designed to destroy him and steal his company. She paused, making eye contact with each juror. Over the next several days, I will show you evidence that proves Mr. Sterling is innocent of all charges. I will show you who the real criminals are and why they want you to believe their lies about my client. Vincent watched the jury's faces as Jasmine spoke. They were listening intently, and he could see that she was already connecting with them. Her sincerity was evident in every word she spoke. The prosecution wants you to believe that Vincent Sterling, a man who built his company from nothing and has employed thousands of people for over 30 years, suddenly decided to steal from his own business. They want you to believe that a man who has donated millions to charity and has never had so much as a parking ticket decided to become a criminal. Jasmine walked closer to the jury box. But I ask you to use your common sense. Why would a successful businessman risk everything he has worked for to steal money he doesn't need? The answer is simple, he wouldn't. Vincent Sterling is innocent, and by the end of this trial, you will know the truth. As Jasmine returned to her seat, Vincent felt a mixture of gratitude and admiration. She had just put her own reputation on the line to defend him, and she had done it with grace and conviction. That was incredible, Vincent whispered to her as the prosecution began their opening statement. We're just getting started, Jasmine replied, already taking notes on the prosecutor's words. D.A. Kane's opening statement was polished and aggressive. He painted Vincent as a greedy executive who had used his position to steal from his own company. He promised to present evidence of forged documents, hidden bank accounts, and a web of lies designed to cover up Vincent's crimes. Vincent felt his confidence wavering as Kane spoke. The prosecutor was skilled and convincing, and he had clearly prepared well for this trial. But every time Vincent started to feel overwhelmed, he looked at Jasmine, who was calmly taking notes and occasionally whispering reassurances to him. Don't worry, she said during a brief recess. Everything he just said is based on circumstantial evidence and assumptions. We have the truth on our side. But he sounds so sure, Vincent said. What if the jury believes him? Jasmine turned to face him fully. Vincent, I need you to trust me. I have been studying this case for months, and I know exactly how to expose the lies they're telling about you. But I need you to stay strong and have faith in the process. Vincent nodded, drawing strength from her confidence. I trust you, Jasmine. I just never expected to be fighting for my life like this. You're not fighting alone, Jasmine said firmly. We're in this together and we're going to win. As the trial resumed, Vincent found himself studying Jasmine more closely. She took detailed notes, objected when appropriate, and never seemed rattled by the prosecution's attacks. She had a natural instinct for the law that impressed even the judge. During the first witness testimony, Jasmine's cross-examination was masterful. She quickly exposed inconsistencies in the witness's story and raised serious questions about his credibility. Vincent watched as the jury began to look skeptical of the prosecution's case. How long have you been practicing law? Judge Morrison asked Jasmine during a sidebar conference. This is my first major trial, Your Honor, Jasmine admitted. But I have been studying law for years, and I am fully prepared to represent my client. Well, you're doing an excellent job, the judge said. Your client is fortunate to have you. When they broke for lunch, Vincent and Jasmine found a quiet corner in the courthouse cafeteria. Vincent was still processing everything that had happened in the last few hours. I can't believe you've been hiding this from me, Vincent said. You're an amazing lawyer. Jasmine smiled. I told you I had to support my family. The security job was more practical than trying to start a law practice from scratch. But you clearly have a gift for this. Why didn't you ever consider changing careers? Because I was comfortable, Jasmine admitted. And because I was scared. It's easier to play it safe than to take risks. Vincent leaned forward. What changed your mind? Why are you taking this risk now? Jasmine was quiet for a moment. Because I realized that some things are more important than playing it safe. You didn't deserve what happened to you today, and I couldn't stand by and watch you get destroyed when I knew I could help. Vincent felt something shift inside him. He had always respected Jasmine as an employee, but now he was seeing her as something more. She was brave, intelligent, and loyal, qualities that seemed rare in his world. Thank you, he said simply. For everything. Don't thank me yet, Jasmine replied. We still have a long way to go. As they prepared to return to the courtroom, Vincent realized that his life had changed in ways he never could have imagined. This morning he had been a desperate man facing ruin. Now he was part of a team, fighting alongside someone who believed in him completely. The afternoon session would bring new challenges, but for the first time in months, Vincent felt ready to face them. The courthouse emptied as the first day of trial came to an end. Vincent and Jasmine gathered their materials in the now quiet courtroom, both knowing that the real work was just beginning. We need to go to your office, Jasmine said, stuffing papers into her briefcase. I need to see all of your financial records, employee files, and any correspondence related to the transactions they're claiming were fraudulent. Vincent nodded. Everything is in my private office. But Jasmine, are you sure you want to spend your entire night working on this? Vincent, we have less than 12 hours before court resumes tomorrow. If we're going to build a defense, we need to use every minute we have. They drove to Sterling Industries in Vincent's car, the silence between them filled with tension and determination. The building was mostly empty, with only a few security guards and cleaning staff remaining. Vincent's corner office occupied the entire top floor, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a stunning view of the city. Jasmine had been in the office many times before, but tonight it felt different. Tonight she wasn't just his employee, she was his partner in this fight. Start with these, Vincent said, pointing to several filing cabinets. These contain all the financial records from the past 5 years. Jasmine rolled up her sleeves and dove into the files. She had always been detail-oriented, but now she was looking at everything with the sharp eye of an attorney. Every transaction, every contract, every email could be the key to proving Vincent's innocence. Tell me about the missing money, Jasmine said as she worked. The prosecution claims you transferred $2 million to an offshore account. What do you know about that? Vincent sat heavily in his chair. I know it wasn't me. I've never had an offshore account in my life. All of my money is in domestic banks, and I have statements to prove it. But the transfer was made from your computer, using your login credentials, Jasmine pointed out. How do you explain that? I can't, Vincent admitted. That's what's so frustrating. Someone had to have access to my computer and my passwords. Jasmine looked up from the files. Who has access to your office? The cleaning staff, security guards, and a few key employees. But I trust all of them. Vincent, one of the hardest lessons in law is that trust isn't always enough. Someone close to you has betrayed you, and we need to figure out who. They worked in comfortable silence for the next hour, with Jasmine occasionally asking questions about specific transactions or employees. Vincent found himself impressed by her thoroughness and her ability to spot patterns that he had missed. "Here's something interesting," Jasmine said, holding up a contract. This consulting agreement with Pacific Management Group was signed just 3 weeks before the alleged fraud occurred. "Did you approve this contract?" Vincent examined the document. "I remember this. PMG was supposed to help us with our expansion into the Asian market. But the project was cancelled after just 2 weeks. Cancelled why? They said we weren't ready for the expansion. But we paid them their full fee anyway, $200,000. Jasmine's eyes lit up. "Vincent, this could be important. Pacific Management Group received a payment of $200,000 for work they didn't complete. What if this is connected to the missing money?" They spent the next 2 hours researching Pacific Management Group, but the company seemed to have vanished without a trace. No website, no business registration, no employee records. "This is too convenient," Jasmine muttered. "A consulting company that appears out of nowhere, gets paid a large sum of money, and then disappears right before you're accused of fraud." Vincent was starting to see the pattern. "You think PMG is connected to whoever set me up?" "I think PMG might be the key to everything," Jasmine replied. "But we need more evidence." As the night wore on, they continued their investigation. Vincent ordered dinner from a nearby restaurant, and they ate while reviewing documents. Despite the serious nature of their work, Vincent found himself enjoying Jasmine's company in a way he hadn't experienced in years. "Can I ask you something personal?" Vincent said as they took a break around midnight. "Of course. You mentioned supporting your family. Tell me about them." Jasmine's expression softened. "My mother raised me and my younger brother Tyler after our father died when I was 16. Mom worked 2 jobs to keep us in school, but she got sick about 5 years ago. Lupus. She can't work anymore and Tyler is in college. That's why you took the security job instead of practicing law?" "Security paid better and it had good health insurance for Mom. I couldn't afford to take the risk of starting a law practice when they needed me to be stable." Vincent felt a surge of respect for Jasmine. She had sacrificed her own dreams to take care of her family, and she had done it without complaint or self-pity. "Your mother must be proud of you," Vincent said. "She is. But she's also worried about me taking on this case. She thinks I'm risking too much by going up against powerful people." "Are you? Risking too much, I mean?" Jasmine considered the question carefully. "Maybe. But some things are worth the risk. You've always been fair to me, Vincent. You've paid me well, treated me with respect, and never made me feel like I was just another employee. When I saw you being attacked by people who don't know the real you, I couldn't stand by and do nothing." Vincent felt his heart racing. He had always been attracted to Jasmine, but he had never allowed himself to act on those feelings because of their professional relationship. Now, seeing her fight for him with such passion and dedication, those feelings were becoming impossible to ignore. "Jasmine, I need you to know something," Vincent said, his voice slightly shaky. "What you're doing for me, it means more than you can imagine. I've never had anyone believe in me the way you do." "Vincent," Jasmine said softly, "you're a good man. I've seen how you treat your employees, how you handle difficult situations, how you care about other people. The person they're describing in court isn't you." Their eyes met across the desk and Vincent felt something shift between them. This wasn't just about the trial anymore. This was about 2 people who had been working together for years, finally seeing each other clearly. "We should get back to work," Jasmine said, but her voice lacked conviction. "Right?" Vincent agreed, though he didn't move to pick up any files. They stared at each other for another moment before Jasmine broke the spell by returning to her documents. But something had changed between them and they both knew it. "Vincent, look at this," Jasmine said, her voice suddenly urgent. "I found something." She handed him a bank statement that he had never seen before. It showed a series of transfers from Sterling Industries to Pacific Management Group, but the amounts were different from what Vincent remembered. "This shows that PMG received over $800,000, not $200,000, Jasmine said. "Someone has been hiding the real payments." Vincent studied the statement carefully. "This isn't from our regular bank. How did you find this?" "It was mixed in with your personal financial records. Vincent, someone wanted you to have this statement. They wanted you to know about the extra payments." "But why? If they were trying to frame me, why leave evidence that could help me?" Jasmine's mind was racing. Maybe they weren't trying to frame you. Maybe they were trying to expose the real criminals and you got caught in the middle. Vincent felt a chill run down his spine. You think this is bigger than just someone trying to steal from my company? I think someone is using your company to launder money or hide illegal transactions. And when you started asking questions or getting too close to the truth, they decided to eliminate you as a threat. They looked at each other, both realizing that the stakes were higher than they had initially thought. This wasn't just about Vincent's reputation or his company. It was about uncovering a criminal conspiracy that involved powerful people who would stop at nothing to protect their secrets. We need to be careful, Jasmine said. If we're right about this, then the people behind it are dangerous. Vincent nodded grimly. Are you sure you want to continue? We could still find you a way out of this. Jasmine stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the city lights. Vincent, I've spent my entire adult life playing it safe. I've taken the secure job, avoided risks, and always chosen the easy path. But tonight, working with you, fighting for something I believe in, this is the first time I felt truly alive in years. She turned back to face him. I'm not walking away. We're going to find the truth and we're going to make sure justice is served. Vincent stood and joined her at the window. Together? Together, Jasmine confirmed. As they prepared to continue their investigation, neither of them noticed the black sedan parked across the street, or the man inside taking pictures of their silhouettes in the office window. The next morning arrived too quickly. Vincent and Jasmine had worked until 3 in the morning and were running on coffee and determination. They had uncovered several suspicious transactions, but they still needed concrete proof to present in court. You look tired, Jasmine said as they reviewed their notes in the courthouse lobby. I've never felt more awake, Vincent replied. We're close to something big, I can feel it. The second day of trial began with the prosecution calling their star witness, Vincent's former CFO, Richard Blackwood. Vincent felt his stomach drop as Richard took the stand. They had worked together for 12 years and Vincent had considered him a friend. Mr. Blackwood, D.A. Kane began, how long did you work for Sterling Industries? 12 years, Richard replied, not looking at Vincent. I was the chief financial officer. And during that time, did you observe any unusual financial activities? Yes, I did. In the past year, Mr. Sterling began making large transfers to offshore accounts. When I questioned him about it, he told me it was none of my business. Vincent started to stand, but Jasmine put a hand on his arm. Let him finish, she whispered. We'll get our chance. Richard continued his testimony, painting Vincent as a paranoid and secretive boss who had become increasingly erratic with company funds. Every word was a dagger to Vincent's reputation. Mr. Blackwood, Kane continued, did you ever try to stop these transactions? I tried to talk to him about it several times. But Mr. Sterling made it clear that if I continued to question his decisions, I would be terminated. So you felt intimidated? Absolutely. Mr. Sterling has a terrible temper, and I was afraid of what he might do if I pushed too hard. Vincent felt his face burning with anger. Everything Richard was saying was a lie, but he sounded so convincing that even Vincent started to doubt his own memory. When it was time for cross-examination, Jasmine stood with quiet confidence. Mr. Blackwood, you testified that Mr. Sterling made these transfers to offshore accounts. Do you have any documentation of these accounts? No, I don't have access to his personal banking information. I see. So you never actually saw these offshore accounts? No, but I saw the transfers leaving our company accounts. Jasmine walked to the evidence table and picked up a folder. Mr. Blackwood, I'm showing you what's been marked as Defense Exhibit A. This is a complete record of all transfers from Sterling Industries accounts over the past 2 years. Can you point to any transfers to offshore accounts? Richard studied the documents, his confidence wavering. These aren't the records I remember seeing. Are you suggesting that these official bank records are incorrect? I don't know. Maybe there are other accounts I wasn't aware of. Jasmine pressed on. Mr. Blackwood, you also testified that Mr. Sterling has a terrible temper. In your 12 years of working together, did you ever file a complaint about his behavior? No. Did you ever report him to HR for inappropriate conduct? No. Did you ever document any instances of this alleged intimidation? No, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen. Mr. Blackwood, isn't it true that you were passed over for promotion to president of the company last year? Richard's face flushed red. What does that have to do with anything? Isn't it true that you felt that promotion should have been yours? I was qualified for the position, yes. And isn't it true that you met with Pacific Management Group 3 weeks before Mr. Sterling was accused of fraud? Richard looked stunned. I don't recall. Mr. Blackwood, I'm showing you what's been marked as Defense Exhibit B. This is a restaurant receipt from Mario's Grill showing a dinner meeting between you and James Patterson of Pacific Management Group. Do you remember this meeting now? The courtroom was silent as Richard stared at the receipt. Vincent watched as his former friend's composure completely crumbled. I may have had a business meeting with them, Richard admitted quietly. A business meeting that you didn't report to Mr. Sterling? I was exploring opportunities for the company. Without your boss's knowledge or approval? I was being proactive. Jasmine paused, letting the implications sink in with the jury. Mr. Blackwood, how much money did Pacific Management Group pay you for these opportunities? D.A. Kane jumped to his feet. Objection. This is beyond the scope of direct examination. Your Honor, Jasmine responded. The witness testified about his concerns over suspicious financial transactions. I believe his own financial activities are relevant to his credibility. I'll allow it, Judge Morrison said. Please answer the question, Mr. Blackwood. Richard looked trapped. I didn't receive any money from PMG. Are you sure about that? Jasmine asked, producing another document. Because this bank statement shows a deposit of $50,000 into your personal account the day after your meeting with PMG. The courtroom erupted in whispers. Vincent felt a surge of hope as he watched the jury's expressions change from sympathy for Richard to suspicion. That deposit it was for consulting work, Richard stammered. Consulting work that you performed while employed full-time by Sterling Industries? I need to speak with my attorney. Mr. Blackwood, you are under oath. Did you accept money from Pacific Management Group while working for Sterling Industries? Richard looked around the courtroom desperately, as if searching for an escape route. Finally, he slumped in his chair. Yes, I received payment from PMG. And what did you do to earn this payment? I provided them with information about Sterling Industries' financial systems. Vincent felt like he had been punched in the stomach. His trusted CFO had been selling information about his company to strangers. What kind of information? Jasmine continued. Account numbers, computer passwords, financial procedures. They said they were conducting a security audit. Mr. Blackwood, did you verify that Pacific Management Group was legitimate? I assumed they were. Did you check their business registration? No. Did you verify their references? No. Did you tell Mr. Sterling about your arrangement with PMG? No. Jasmine walked closer to the witness stand. Mr. Blackwood, isn't it true that you gave PMG everything they needed to access Sterling Industries accounts and make it look like Mr. Sterling was stealing from his own company? I didn't know that's what they were planning. Richard protested. They told me it was a security audit. But you took their money anyway. Yes. And you kept their secret. Yes. And when Mr. Sterling was accused of fraud, you chose to testify against him rather than tell the truth about your arrangement with PMG. Richard was crying now. I was scared. They told me if I said anything, they would destroy me. Who told you that, Mr. Blackwood? The people from PMG. They said if I kept quiet and testified against Vincent, they would make sure I was protected. The courtroom was in chaos. Judge Morrison had to use her gavel to restore order. Vincent stared at Richard in shock and betrayal, while Jasmine calmly returned to her seat. No further questions, she said. D.A. Kane looked stunned. His star witness had just admitted to being part of a conspiracy against Vincent. The prosecution's case was falling apart and everyone in the courtroom knew it. During the recess, Vincent grabbed Jasmine's arm. How did you know about the meeting with PMG? I've been investigating PMG all week, Jasmine replied. I found records of all their meetings and payments. Richard was just the beginning. There are others? Vincent, PMG has been targeting businesses all over the city. They identify companies with weak financial oversight, plant someone inside to gather information, and then use that information to steal money while framing the owner. Vincent felt sick. How many companies? At least 6 that I've found so far. You're not their first victim, but if we can prove this conspiracy, you might be their last. Vincent looked at Jasmine with new admiration. She hadn't just defended him, she had uncovered an entire criminal network. Why didn't you tell me about this before? Because I needed to be sure. And I needed Richard to admit his involvement before I could prove the bigger picture. Vincent realized that Jasmine had been playing a much deeper game than he had understood. She wasn't just defending him against the current charges, She was building a case that would expose the real criminals and clear his name completely. What happens now? Vincent asked. Now we go after the people who really did this, Jasmine replied. And we make sure they can never hurt anyone else again. As they prepared to return to the courtroom, Vincent felt a wave of emotion wash over him. Jasmine had not only believed in his innocence, she had proven it. She had risked everything to uncover the truth, and in doing so she had saved his life. Jasmine, he said softly, I don't know how to thank you. You don't need to thank me, she replied. You just need to trust me to finish this. Vincent nodded, knowing that his trust in Jasmine was absolute. She had already proven that she was capable of miracles. That evening Vincent and Jasmine returned to his office with a new sense of purpose. Richard's testimony had cracked the case wide open, but they still needed to identify the masterminds behind Pacific Management Group. We need to find out who James Patterson really is, Jasmine said, spreading documents across Vincent's conference table. Richard gave us his name, but I suspect that's not his real identity. Vincent poured 2 cups of coffee and joined her at the table. Where do we start? With this, Jasmine said, holding up the restaurant receipt from Richard's meeting with Patterson. Mario's Grill has security cameras. If we can get footage from that night, we might be able to identify Patterson and anyone else he was working with. The restaurant owner is a friend of mine, Vincent said. Tony Marcelli. He'll help us if I ask. While Vincent called Tony, Jasmine continued reviewing the financial records. She had created a timeline of all the suspicious transactions, and a clear pattern was emerging. Vincent, look at this, she said when he finished his call. PMG didn't just target your company randomly. They specifically chose businesses that were about to go through major transitions. Mergers, expansions, leadership changes. Your company was planning the Asian expansion, which would have involved transferring large amounts of money internationally. So they were using legitimate business activities to hide their theft? Exactly. They would identify a company that was about to move money around, plant someone inside to get access to the financial systems, and then steal during the confusion of the transition. Vincent felt a chill. That's incredibly sophisticated. This isn't just some small-time fraud operation. No, it's not. These people are professionals and they've been doing this for a while. Tony called back within an hour. Vincent, I've got the security footage from that night. You want to come take a look? Vincent and Jasmine drove to Mario's Grill, a small Italian restaurant in the business district. Tony led them to his office behind the kitchen, where he had the security footage queued up on his computer. There, Tony said, pointing to the screen. That's your guy Richard. And that's the man he was meeting with. Vincent and Jasmine studied the footage carefully. James Patterson was a tall, well-dressed man in his 40s with silver hair and an expensive suit. But it was the woman sitting at the table next to them who caught Jasmine's attention. Tony, can you zoom in on that woman? Jasmine asked. Tony adjusted the camera angle. The woman was elegant, probably in her late 30s, with short blonde hair and designer clothing. She appeared to be dining alone, but Jasmine noticed that she was clearly listening to Richard and Patterson's conversation. She's not eating, Jasmine observed. She's just sitting there eavesdropping. You think she's part of it? Vincent asked. I think she's the one in charge, Jasmine replied. Look at how Patterson keeps glancing at her. He's reporting to her, not the other way around. Tony burned the footage onto a DVD for them, and they returned to Vincent's office to continue their investigation. Jasmine had Vincent's IT department enhance the images from the security footage, and they were able to get clear pictures of both Patterson and the mysterious woman. I've seen her before, Vincent said, studying the woman's photograph. But I can't remember where. Think, Vincent. Has she ever been to any business meetings? Social events? Industry conferences? Vincent closed his eyes and concentrated. Wait. The Chamber of Commerce dinner last month. She was there, sitting at the table with some city council members. Do you remember her name? No, but she was introduced as someone from the mayor's office. Economic development, I think. Jasmine felt her pulse quicken. Vincent, if she works for the city, she would have access to information about businesses applying for permits, expansions, government contracts. She would know which companies were about to handle large financial transactions, Vincent finished. That's how they chose their targets. They spent the rest of the evening researching the mayor's economic development team, and finally found what they were looking for. The woman's name was Catherine Mills, and she was the Deputy Director of Economic Development for the city. This is huge, Jasmine said, staring at Catherine's official biography. She's been in that position for 5 years. She would have had access to confidential information about hundreds of businesses. But why would someone in her position risk everything for a fraud scheme? Vincent asked. Money, Jasmine said simply. Look at her salary, $60,000 a year. But look at her lifestyle in these photos. Designer clothes, expensive jewelry, luxury car. She's living way above her means. Vincent studied the photos from various city events. You're right. Everything she's wearing probably costs more than her monthly salary. Vincent, I think we've found our mastermind. Catherine Mills has been using her position to identify targets, James Patterson has been recruiting insiders like Richard, and together they've been stealing from businesses all over the city. So what do we do now? We need to prove the connection between Catherine and Pacific Management Group. And we need to find out how many other businesses they've targeted. Jasmine began making phone calls to business owners who had been involved in economic development projects over the past year. By midnight, she had identified 3 other companies that had experienced mysterious financial problems shortly after working with the city on expansion projects. Vincent, this is bigger than we thought, she said, hanging up from her latest call. Thompson Manufacturing, Riverside Properties, and Global Logistics have all been victims of similar schemes. In each case, they were working on a city-approved project, they had an employee who suddenly had access to financial information, and they experienced thefts that were blamed on the business owners. Were they all prosecuted? 2 of them. The third one, Global Logistics, managed to avoid prosecution, but they lost so much money that they had to close their business. Vincent felt sick. How many lives have these people destroyed? Too many. But we're going to stop them. Jasmine's phone rang. It was her mother. Mom, I can't talk right now, I'm working, Jasmine said. Jasmine baby, I'm worried about you. I saw the news about the trial. Are you sure you know what you're doing? Mom, I'm fine. I'm exactly where I need to be. Just be careful, okay? These people you're going up against, they have a lot of power. I know, Mom. But sometimes doing the right thing means taking risks. After she hung up, Vincent looked at her with concern. Your mother's right to be worried. If Catherine Mills is as connected as she seems, she could make things very difficult for you. Vincent, I've been playing it safe my whole life. I've taken the secure job, avoided confrontation, and never rocked the boat. But watching you get destroyed by these people, knowing that I could help you but choosing not to because it might be risky, I couldn't live with myself. Vincent moved closer to her. Jasmine, what you're doing for me, it's changing my life. I've never had anyone fight for me the way you are. You deserve someone who believes in you, Jasmine said softly. You're a good man, Vincent. You don't deserve what they're doing to you. Vincent reached out and took her hand. I'm starting to wonder if maybe this whole nightmare happened for a reason. If it brought us together like this. Jasmine felt her heart racing. She had been trying to keep her feelings professional, but the late nights, the shared mission, and Vincent's obvious gratitude were making that impossible. Vincent, we should focus on the case, she said, but she didn't pull her hand away. I know. You're right. But I need you to know that whatever happens with the trial, you've already saved me in ways that have nothing to do with the law. They looked at each other for a long moment, both feeling the shift in their relationship. This wasn't just about employer and employee anymore, or even attorney and client. This was about 2 people who had found something special in the middle of a crisis. We should get some rest, Jasmine said finally. Tomorrow we need to figure out how to prove Catherine Mills is behind all of this. Right. The case, Vincent agreed, though his eyes never left her face. As they prepared to leave the office, Vincent's phone rang. The caller ID showed an unknown number. Hello. Vincent answered. Mr. Sterling, this is James Patterson. I believe you know who I am. Vincent's blood ran cold. He motioned for Jasmine to pick up the extension. What do you want? Vincent asked. I want to make you an offer. Drop the investigation into Pacific Management Group, fire your lawyer, and plead guilty to a reduced charge. You'll serve 2 years in minimum security and keep your personal assets. And if I refuse? Then things will get very unpleasant for you and for Ms. Washington. We know where she lives, Mr. Sterling. We know where her mother lives. We know where her brother goes to school. Vincent saw the fear flash across Jasmine's face, but then her expression hardened with determination. Mr. Patterson, Vincent said, I'm going to hang up now. And tomorrow, I'm going to make sure you go to prison for a very long time. You're making a mistake, Mr. Sterling. We're offering you a way out. Don't be stupid. Vincent hung up the phone. He and Jasmine looked at each other, both understanding that the stakes had just gotten much higher. They're scared, Jasmine said. They wouldn't be threatening us if they weren't desperate. Jasmine, maybe you should step back from this. I can't let them hurt you or your family. Vincent, I'm not going anywhere. We're too close to the truth for me to back down now. But the risks are worth it. These people have been destroying lives for years. If we don't stop them, they'll just keep doing it. Vincent felt a surge of admiration for her courage. Are you sure? I'm sure. But we need to be smart about this. If they're watching us, we need to be careful how we proceed. Vincent nodded. What do you suggest? We take everything we've learned and we present it to the FBI. This is bigger than what we can handle alone. The FBI? Vincent, we've uncovered evidence of a conspiracy involving city officials, fake businesses, and victims across multiple jurisdictions. This is a federal case. Vincent realized she was right. They weren't just dealing with a local fraud anymore, they were dealing with organized crime. Okay, he said. But we stay together. I'm not letting you handle this alone. Together, Jasmine agreed. As they left the office, both of them knew that they were about to enter the most dangerous phase of their investigation. But they also knew that they were stronger together than either of them had ever been alone. The next morning, Vincent and Jasmine met at a small cafe across town, far from the courthouse and Vincent's office. They needed a safe place to talk without being overheard or followed. I didn't sleep at all last night, Jasmine admitted, stirring her coffee absently. I kept thinking about what Patterson said. I'm worried about your family, Vincent said. Maybe we should arrange for some protection for them. I already called my brother and told him to stay on campus this week. And I've asked my neighbor to check on my mother throughout the day. Vincent reached across the table and took her hand. Jasmine, I would never forgive myself if something happened to you or your family because of me. This isn't because of you, Vincent. This is because of them. They're the ones who chose to threaten innocent people. Vincent squeezed her hand. How are you so brave? Most people would have walked away by now. Jasmine smiled sadly. You want to know the truth? I'm terrified. But I'm more afraid of what happens if we don't fight back. What do you mean? Vincent, my whole life has been about playing it safe. When my father died, I became the responsible one. I took care of my family, I chose a secure job, I avoided risks. But you know what? I've been miserable. Vincent studied her face. You've seemed happy to me. I've been comfortable. There's a difference. I was so focused on security that I forgot to actually live my life. And now I'm fighting for something I believe in. I'm using my education and my skills to make a real difference. For the first time in years, I feel like I'm the person I was meant to be. Vincent felt his heart racing. Jasmine, can I tell you something? Of course. I've been attracted to you since the day you started working for me. But I never said anything because I didn't want to make you uncomfortable or jeopardize your job. Jasmine felt her cheeks warm. Vincent, I know this is complicated. I know the timing is terrible. But seeing you in action these past few days, watching you fight for me and for justice, I'm falling in love with you, Jasmine. The words hung in the air between them. Jasmine felt her heart pounding, but she also felt scared. Relationships had never been her strong suit, especially when they involved her heart. Vincent, I care about you too. More than I should. But we need to be careful. If people think our relationship is personal rather than professional, it could hurt the case. I understand. I'm not asking you to do anything about it right now. I just needed you to know how I feel. I'm glad you told me, Jasmine said softly. Because I've been feeling the same way. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, both processing what they had just shared. Then Jasmine's phone buzzed with a text message. It's from Agent Rodriguez at the FBI, she said. He wants to meet with us this afternoon. Vincent felt a mix of relief and anxiety. Are you ready for this? As ready as I can be. Vincent, once we involve the FBI, there's no going back. They'll want to use our evidence to build a case against Catherine Mills and her network. What does that mean for us? It means we might have to testify in federal court. It means we might be putting ourselves in danger as witnesses. And it means the people we're going up against will know that we're serious about taking them down. Vincent considered this. Are you having second thoughts? No. Are you? Not a chance. These people destroyed Richard's life, they tried to destroy mine, and they've hurt who knows how many others. They need to be stopped. Then we're really doing this. We're really doing this. They spent the rest of the morning preparing for their meeting with the FBI. Jasmine had organized all of their evidence into a comprehensive presentation, complete with timelines, financial records, and witness statements. You've done incredible work, Vincent said, reviewing her materials. I can't believe how much you've uncovered in just a few days. I had good motivation, Jasmine replied. And I had help from someone who knows his business inside and out. We make a good team. The best, Jasmine agreed. The FBI field office was located in a modern building downtown. Agent Rodriguez met them in the lobby and escorted them to a secure conference room. He was a middle-aged Hispanic man with kind eyes and a professional demeanor. Ms. Washington, Mr. Sterling, thank you for coming in. I understand you have information about a conspiracy involving city officials and financial fraud. That's correct, Jasmine said, handing him a folder. We have evidence that suggests a widespread scheme targeting local businesses. Agent Rodriguez reviewed their materials carefully, occasionally asking questions for clarification. As he read, his expression grew more serious. This is extensive work, he said finally. Ms. Washington, you put together a very thorough investigation. Thank you. We believe there are additional victims who haven't come forward yet. I'm sure there are. Crimes like this often go unreported because the victims are too embarrassed or they blame themselves. So you'll investigate? Vincent asked. Oh, we'll definitely investigate. In fact, we've been looking into some irregularities in the city's economic development department for several months. Your evidence fills in some gaps we've been trying to close. Jasmine felt a surge of relief. So we're not the only ones who suspected something? Not at all. But you've provided us with the proof we needed to move forward. Ms. Washington, would you be willing to work with us as a consultant on this case? What would that involve? We'd want you to help us identify additional victims and gather more evidence. You'd be compensated for your time, and we'd provide protection for you and your family. Jasmine looked at Vincent, who nodded encouragingly. Yes, I'll do it. Excellent. Mr. Sterling, we'll also need your cooperation as a witness when we bring charges against the conspirators. Whatever you need, Vincent said. There's one more thing, Agent Rodriguez said. We believe Catherine Mills is planning to leave the country. We've been monitoring her activities and she's been liquidating assets and closing bank accounts. When? Jasmine asked. Soon. Which is why we need to move quickly. We're going to arrest her tomorrow morning. Vincent felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. Will that be safe? She's threatened us. Once she's in custody, the immediate threat will be reduced. But I want you both to be very careful until then. Don't go anywhere alone, and if you notice anything suspicious, call us immediately. As they left the FBI office, Vincent and Jasmine felt a sense of accomplishment mixed with anticipation. They had done everything they could to expose the conspiracy, and now it was in the hands of the professionals. I can't believe it's almost over, Jasmine said as they walked to Vincent's car. Are you disappointed? You've been enjoying the legal work. I have been. Agent Rodriguez offered me a job with the FBI if I'm interested. Vincent felt a stab of panic. Are you considering it? I don't know. It would be a chance to use my law degree and help people. But it would also mean leaving Sterling Industries. Jasmine, you have to do what's right for you. I can't ask you to stay just because I want you to. Vincent, what happens to us when this is all over? Do we go back to being boss and employee? Do we pretend that none of this happened? Vincent stopped walking and turned to face her. I don't know. But I know I don't want to pretend that what we've shared didn't happen. Neither do I. But we need to be realistic about what's possible. Why? Why do we need to be realistic? We're both adults, we care about each other, and we work well together. What's not possible about that? Jasmine smiled. You make it sound so simple. Maybe it is simple. Maybe we've been making it more complicated than it needs to be. Vincent, I've never been in a serious relationship. I've always been too focused on taking care of everyone else to think about what I wanted for myself. And what do you want for yourself? Jasmine looked into his eyes. I want to be happy. I want to wake up every morning excited about my life. I want to feel like I'm making a difference in the world. And you think you can have those things? With you? I think I can have everything. Vincent felt his heart soar. Jasmine, when this trial is over, when Catherine Mills is behind bars, when we can finally breathe again, would you consider giving us a real chance? I'd consider it. But first, we need to finish what we started. Agreed. But Jasmine? Yes. I love you. Whatever happens, I need you to know that. I love you too, Vincent. More than I ever thought possible. They kissed for the first time standing on the sidewalk outside the FBI building, both of them knowing that whatever happened next, they would face it together. The arrest of Catherine Mills made front-page news. Vincent and Jasmine watched the coverage from his office, feeling a mixture of relief and satisfaction as they saw her being led away in handcuffs. FBI uncovers City Hall corruption ring. The headline read, "Deputy Director charged with conspiracy and fraud." "It's really over," Vincent said, putting his arm around Jasmine. "Not quite," Jasmine replied. "We still need to finish your trial. The charges against you haven't been dropped yet. But with Catherine and Patterson in custody and Richard's testimony about the conspiracy, surely the prosecution will dismiss the case." "We hope so. But we need to be prepared for anything." Their optimism was short-lived. That afternoon, D.A. Kane called a press conference announcing that he was continuing with the prosecution of Vincent Sterling. "The arrest of Catherine Mills and her associates does not change the fact that Vincent Sterling participated in these illegal activities," Kane told the reporters. "We believe he was a willing participant in the conspiracy, not a victim." Vincent felt sick watching the press conference. "How can he still claim I was involved? All the evidence points to me being framed." "Kane has invested too much in this case to back down now," Jasmine explained. "If he admits he was wrong about you, it makes him look incompetent. He's going to fight this to the end." "So what do? "We go back to court tomorrow and we prove your innocence once and for all." That evening, Jasmine worked late preparing for the next day's proceedings. She had requested permission to call Catherine Mills as a witness, hoping to get her to admit that Vincent had been framed. "Are you sure she'll testify?" Vincent asked. "She'll testify. The question is whether she'll tell the truth." Vincent watched Jasmine work, admiring her dedication and skill. "You know, even if I lose this case, working with you has been worth it." "You're not going to lose, Vincent. I won't let that happen. But if I do..." "You won't. I promise." The next morning, the courtroom was packed with reporters and spectators. Everyone wanted to see what would happen when Catherine Mills took the stand. "Your Honor," Jasmine said, "the defense calls Catherine Mills." Catherine entered the courtroom in an orange jumpsuit, flanked by federal marshals. She looked composed, but Vincent could see the anger in her eyes. "Ms. Mills," Jasmine began, "you are currently in federal custody on charges of conspiracy and fraud, correct?" "Yes." "And these charges relate to a scheme to defraud local businesses, including Sterling Industries?" "That's what they claim." "Ms. Mills, did you know Vincent Sterling before he was charged with fraud?" "I had met him at various city events." "Did you ever have any business dealings with him?" "Not directly." "But you were aware of his company's plans to expand into Asian markets?" Catherine hesitated. "I was aware of many companies' expansion plans. It was part of my job." "Ms. Mills, did you share information about Vincent Sterling's business plans with James Patterson?" "I invoke my Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination." "Ms. Mills, did you instruct Richard Blackwood to provide financial information about Sterling Industries to Pacific Management Group?" "I invoke my Fifth Amendment right." "Ms. Mills, did you participate in a conspiracy to frame Vincent Sterling for crimes he didn't commit?" "I invoke my Fifth Amendment right." Jasmine had expected this response, but she had one more question to ask. "Ms. Mills, Vincent Sterling is sitting right there. Look at him. Is there anything you'd like to say to him?" Catherine looked at Vincent for the first time since entering the courtroom. For a moment, her composed facade cracked. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. "You didn't deserve what we did to you." The courtroom erupted. D.A. Kane objected, but the damage was done. Catherine Mills had just admitted that Vincent had been framed. "No further questions," Jasmine said, returning to her seat. D.A. Kane tried to repair the damage during his cross-examination, but Catherine continued to invoke her Fifth Amendment rights. Her apology to Vincent had been spontaneous and genuine, and everyone in the courtroom knew it. "Your Honor," Jasmine said when Catherine's testimony was complete, "the defense moves for a directed verdict of not guilty on all charges." "Mr. Kane?" Judge Morrison asked. Kane looked defeated. "Your Honor, in light of recent developments, the prosecution requests permission to dismiss all charges against Vincent Sterling." "Motion granted," Judge Morrison said. "Mr. Sterling, you are free to go. The court apologizes for the ordeal you have endured." Vincent felt like he was floating. After months of fear and uncertainty, he was finally free. The courtroom erupted in applause as he hugged Jasmine. "You did it," he whispered in her ear. "You saved me." "We did it," Jasmine corrected. "Together." As they left the courtroom, they were surrounded by reporters shouting questions. Vincent raised his hand for quiet. "I want to thank my attorney, Jasmine Washington, for her brilliant work on this case. Without her dedication and skill, I would not be standing here today. I also want to thank the FBI for their thorough investigation of this conspiracy." "Mr. Sterling," one reporter called out, "what will you do now?" I'm going to rebuild my business and my life. And I'm going to make sure that the people who were hurt by this conspiracy get the justice they deserve. Ms. Washington, another reporter asked, will you be continuing to practice law? Jasmine looked at Vincent, then back at the reporters. I'm considering my options. But I can say that this experience has reminded me why I became a lawyer in the first place. Later that evening, Vincent and Jasmine celebrated at a quiet restaurant across town. They had both been through an incredible ordeal, and they needed time to process everything that had happened. I still can't believe it's over, Vincent said, raising his wine glass. To justice. To justice, Jasmine agreed. And to new beginnings. Speaking of new beginnings, Vincent said, I have something to ask you. What's that? I want to offer you a position as general counsel for Sterling Industries. Full salary, benefits, and complete autonomy to run the legal department however you see fit. Jasmine was touched by the offer. Vincent, that's incredibly generous. But I need to think about it. Of course. Take all the time you need. But I hope you'll consider it. I can't imagine running my company without you. It's not about the job, Vincent. It's about us. If I work for you, people will always question our relationship. They'll say I only got the job because we're, whatever we are. So what do you suggest? I suggest we take some time to figure out what we want our relationship to be. And then we make our professional decisions based on what's best for both of us. Vincent nodded. That's very wise. But can I ask you one more thing? Anything. Will you go on a real date with me? Not as my employee, not as my lawyer, but as the woman I'm falling in love with. Jasmine smiled. I thought you'd never ask. Tomorrow night? Tomorrow night. As they left the restaurant, Vincent felt like his life was finally beginning again. He had his freedom, his reputation, and the promise of a future with the most remarkable woman he had ever met. But more than that, he had learned something valuable about himself. He had discovered that he was capable of love, trust, and partnership in ways he had never imagined. Jasmine had not only saved his business and his freedom, she had saved his heart. The final day of Vincent's trial arrived with unexpected drama. Even though the charges had been dismissed, Judge Morrison had called a special hearing to address the broader implications of the conspiracy that had been uncovered. This court has a responsibility to examine how such a massive fraud could have occurred within our city's government, Judge Morrison announced. I am ordering a full investigation into the Economic Development Department and any other city agencies that may have been compromised. Vincent and Jasmine sat in the gallery, watching as the judge addressed the packed courtroom. Several other business owners who had been victims of the conspiracy were present, along with their attorneys and representatives from the FBI. Your Honor, said Agent Rodriguez, standing to address the court, the Federal Bureau of Investigation has identified at least 12 businesses that were targeted by this conspiracy over the past 3 years. The total amount stolen exceeds $4 million. A murmur went through the courtroom. Vincent felt sick thinking about all the people who had been hurt by Catherine Mills and her network. Mr. Sterling, Judge Morrison said, please approach the bench. Vincent and Jasmine walked forward together. Mr. Sterling, I want to personally apologize to you on behalf of this court and this city. You have been the victim of a terrible injustice, and I am sorry for the ordeal you have endured. Thank you, Your Honor. I appreciate that. I also want to commend Ms. Washington for her exceptional work on this case. Her investigation and legal representation have been exemplary. Thank you, Your Honor, Jasmine replied. I was just doing my job. You did far more than your job, Ms. Washington. You uncovered a conspiracy that might have continued for years if not for your diligence. As they returned to their seats, Vincent felt a sense of closure he hadn't expected. The formal acknowledgement of his innocence and Jasmine's work meant everything to him. Ladies and gentlemen, Judge Morrison continued, this case serves as a reminder that our justice system depends on the courage of individuals who are willing to stand up for what's right. Ms. Washington could have chosen to play it safe, but instead she risked her career to defend an innocent man. That is the kind of courage we need more of in our society. The hearing concluded with the judge ordering full restitution for all victims of the conspiracy and mandating new oversight procedures for city government contracts. As they left the courthouse, Vincent and Jasmine were approached by several of the other business owners who had been victims. Mr. Sterling, Ms. Washington, thank you for what you did, said Maria Santos, owner of Santos Construction. If you hadn't fought back, we never would have known what really happened to us. We're all planning to file civil lawsuits against the city, added Tom Richardson from Richardson Electronics. Would you be willing to join us? Vincent looked at Jasmine, who nodded. Yes, we'll join you. These people need to be held accountable for what they did. Ms. Washington, Maria said, would you be willing to represent us in the civil case? Jasmine was touched by the offer. I'm honored that you would ask, but I need to think about my future plans. Of course. But please consider it. We need someone who understands this case and who we can trust. As they walked to Vincent's car, Jasmine was quiet and thoughtful. You're considering it, aren't you? Vincent asked. The civil case? Yes, I am. These people deserve justice, and I know this case better than anyone. What about the FBI job offer? I'm still thinking about that too. Agent Rodriguez called this morning. They want me to join their white-collar crime unit. Vincent felt a stab of anxiety. That would be a great opportunity for you. It would. But Vincent, I need to ask you something honestly. If I don't take the job at Sterling Industries, if I choose to practice law independently, would you be okay with that? Of course I would. Jasmine, I want you to do whatever makes you happy. Even if it means we see less of each other? Vincent stopped walking and took her hands. Jasmine, I fell in love with you because of who you are, your intelligence, your courage, your integrity. I would never want you to give up your dreams for me. But what about us? What about our relationship? We'll figure it out. If you want to practice law, then that's what you should do. If you want to work for the FBI, then that's what you should do. I just want to be part of your life, whatever that looks like. Jasmine felt tears forming in her eyes. You really mean that? I really mean it. I love you, Jasmine. I want you to be happy and fulfilled, even if that means making some sacrifices. What kind of sacrifices? Well, if you're going to be a hotshot federal agent, I might have to learn to share you with the rest of the world. Jasmine laughed through her tears. You're amazing, you know that? I'm learning. You're teaching me how to be a better man. Vincent, can I tell you something? Anything. I've never been happier than I am right now. Fighting for you, using my skills to make a difference, being with you. This is the life I want. Then let's build it together. How? However you want. If you want to practice law, I'll support you. If you want to work for the FBI, I'll support you. If you want to travel the world and fight injustice, I'll support you. And what about you? What do you want? I want to rebuild my company. I want to be a better employer and a better member of this community. And I want to wake up every morning knowing that I'm with the woman I love. Jasmine kissed him right there on the courthouse steps, not caring who was watching. I love you too, she said. More than I ever thought possible. So what do we do now? Now we go home and we start planning our future together. As they drove away from the courthouse, Vincent felt like his life was finally beginning. He had been through hell and back, but he had emerged stronger and more grateful than ever before. Vincent, Jasmine said, I've made a decision about the job offers. What's that? I'm going to start my own law practice. I want to specialize in helping businesses that have been victimized by fraud and corruption. And I want to represent the other victims in the civil case against the city. That's perfect, Vincent said. And I want to be your first client. Vincent, you don't need to. Yes, I do. Sterling Industries needs a general counsel, and I can't think of anyone I'd rather work with. We can structure it so you're an independent contractor, maintaining your own practice while also handling my company's legal needs. Jasmine smiled. That could work. We'd be partners, not boss and employee. Partners in every way, Vincent agreed. As they pulled into Vincent's driveway, both of them knew that they had not only survived their ordeal, they had found something beautiful in the midst of it. They had found each other, and they had found a way to build a future together that honored both of their dreams. 6 months later, Jasmine's law practice was thriving. She had successfully represented all 12 victims of the Mills conspiracy in their civil lawsuit against the city, securing a settlement of $8 million in damages and compensation. The Washington legal group occupied a small but elegant office in the business district, just a few blocks from Sterling Industries. Jasmine had hired 2 associates and a paralegal, and she was already building a reputation as one of the city's most effective attorneys specializing in corporate fraud cases. Ms. Washington, her secretary announced over the intercom, Mr. Sterling is here for your 4 o'clock meeting. Jasmine smiled. Vincent visited her office at least twice a week for legal consultations, though they both knew he came by more often than strictly necessary for business. Send him in, she said. Vincent entered carrying a bouquet of flowers and wearing the smile that never failed to make her heart skip a beat. Counselor, he said formally, then broke into a grin. How's my favorite lawyer? Your only lawyer, Jasmine corrected, accepting the flowers. And I'm good. Busy but good. I have some news, Vincent said, settling into the chair across from her desk. Good news or bad news? Great news. Sterling Industries just landed the contract to develop the new convention center. It's the biggest project in the company's history. Vincent, that's wonderful. I'm so proud of you. I couldn't have done it without your legal work on the proposal. Having you as our general counsel has been the best decision I've ever made. Business decision, Jasmine corrected with a smile. Second best decision, Vincent amended. The best decision was falling in love with you. Jasmine felt the familiar warmth that Vincent's words always brought her. Their relationship had deepened and strengthened over the past 6 months, built on a foundation of mutual respect, shared values, and genuine love. Actually, I have some news too, Jasmine said. I got a call from the State Bar Association this morning. They want to give me the Outstanding Young Attorney Award for my work on the Mills case. Jasmine, that's incredible. You deserve that recognition and so much more. It feels surreal. A year ago, I was working security and hiding my law degree. Now I'm being recognized by the State Bar. You were never hiding, Jasmine. You were just waiting for the right moment to shine. A knock on the door interrupted them. Ms. Washington, her secretary called. There are some people here to see you. They say it's about a potential case. Send them in, Jasmine said. A middle-aged couple entered the office, looking nervous and hopeful. The woman was clutching a folder of documents, and the man kept wringing his hands. Ms. Washington, I'm Carol Jenkins and this is my husband Robert. We own Jenkins Manufacturing. We've heard about your work with the other businesses that were defrauded, and we think something similar happened to us. Jasmine gestured for them to sit down. Tell me what happened. We were working with the city on a project to expand our factory, Robert said. Everything seemed legitimate, but then money started disappearing from our accounts. When we tried to investigate, we were accused of embezzling from our own company. When did this happen? Jasmine asked. 2 years ago, Carol replied. Before the Mills case came to light. We lost our business and nearly lost our house trying to pay for legal fees. Jasmine exchanged a look with Vincent. It sounded like Mills had been operating her scheme longer than they had realized. Do you have documentation of the transactions? Jasmine asked. Carol handed her the folder. Everything's in there. We never gave up hope that someday we'd find someone who could help us. Jasmine reviewed the documents quickly. The pattern was unmistakably similar to the other Mills cases. Mr. and Mrs. Jenkins, I think you were indeed victims of the same conspiracy we exposed. I'd be honored to help you seek justice. The relief on their faces was immediate and profound. Thank you, Carol said, tears in her eyes. We've been fighting this alone for so long. You're not alone anymore, Jasmine assured them. After the Jenkins left, Vincent looked at Jasmine with admiration. You're going to help them get their lives back. I'm going to try. They deserve justice just like everyone else. You know what I love most about you? Vincent said. What's that? You never stopped believing in justice even when it would have been easier to give up. You could have stayed in security, played it safe, and never risked anything. But you chose to fight for what's right. I chose to fight for you, Jasmine corrected. Everything else just followed from that. And I chose to trust you even when I had no reason to hope. Best decision I ever made. Jasmine walked around her desk and sat on the edge, facing Vincent. You know what I realized today? What? A year ago, I thought my life was about security and stability. I thought taking care of my family meant never taking risks. And now I know that real security comes from doing what you love with people you trust. My family is more secure now than they ever were when I was just playing it safe. Your mother seems happy with the changes. She is. She says she hasn't seen me this confident and joyful since I was in college. And Tyler is thriving at law school, knowing that he doesn't have to worry about money anymore. Vincent stood and moved closer to her. Speaking of your family, I have something I want to ask you. What's that? Vincent reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Jasmine's heart stopped. Jasmine Washington, you saved my life in every way that matters. You believed in me when no one else would, you fought for me when I couldn't fight for myself, and you showed me what real love looks like. He dropped to one knee in front of her. Will you marry me? Jasmine felt tears streaming down her face. Vincent, I know we said we'd take our time figuring out our relationship, but I don't need any more time. I know you're the woman I want to spend the rest of my life with. Vincent, yes. Yes, I'll marry you. He slipped the ring onto her finger, then stood and kissed her deeply. I love you, counselor. I love you too. Partners? Partners in everything. As they held each other in her office, surrounded by the evidence of the life they had built together, Both Vincent and Jasmine knew that they had found something rare and precious. They had found a love that was built on respect, trust, and shared values. They had found a partnership that made them both stronger and better than they could ever be alone. The Mills conspiracy had been meant to destroy Vincent's life, but instead it had led him to the woman who would become his wife and partner in all things. Sometimes, Jasmine reflected, the worst things that happen to us can lead to the best things in our lives. 1 year later, Vincent and Jasmine stood at the altar of the historic Riverside Chapel, surrounded by their family and friends. The autumn sunlight streamed through the stained glass windows, casting colorful patterns on the walls. Do you, Vincent Sterling, take Jasmine Washington to be your lawfully wedded wife, to have and to hold, in sickness and in health, for richer or poorer, for better or worse, for as long as you both shall live? Asked the minister. I do, Vincent said, his voice strong and clear. I absolutely do. And do you, Jasmine Washington, take Vincent Sterling to be your lawfully wedded husband, to have and to hold, in sickness and in health, for richer or poorer, for better or worse, for as long as you both shall live? I do, Jasmine replied, smiling through happy tears. By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride. Vincent and Jasmine kissed as their friends and family erupted in applause. In the front row, Jasmine's mother wiped away tears of joy, while her brother Tyler whistled loudly. At the reception that evening, Vincent stood to address their guests. Friends and family, thank you for being here to celebrate with us. 2 years ago, I thought my life was over. I was facing charges that could have destroyed everything I had worked for. But in my darkest hour, Jasmine stepped forward and saved me. He looked at his new wife, who was radiant in her wedding dress. She didn't just save my reputation or my business, she saved my heart. She showed me what it means to have someone believe in you completely, to have someone fight for you when you can't fight for yourself. Jasmine taught me that love isn't just about the good times. It's about standing together when things get difficult. It's about choosing each other every day, not because it's easy, but because it's right. He raised his glass. To my wife, my partner, my best friend, and the love of my life. Thank you for seeing the best in me, even when I couldn't see it myself. The guests raised their glasses as Jasmine stood to respond. 2 years ago, I was living a safe, predictable life. I had a steady job, a regular routine, and no surprises. I thought that was what security looked like. But Vincent taught me that real security doesn't come from avoiding risks. It comes from finding someone you can trust completely to face those risks with you. When I decided to defend Vincent, I thought I was just doing what was right. I had no idea I was about to find the love of my life. I had no idea that choosing courage over comfort would lead me to everything I had ever dreamed of. She looked around the room at their friends and family. We've all learned over the past 2 years that life can change in an instant. One day you think you know what your future looks like, and the next day everything is different. But what I've also learned is that the most beautiful changes often come from the most unexpected places. Vincent and I didn't plan to fall in love during a legal crisis. But we did, and it's been the greatest adventure of our lives. She raised her glass. To love that comes from unexpected places, to partnerships that make us stronger, and to the courage to choose each other every day. As the evening continued, Vincent and Jasmine danced their first dance as husband and wife to At Last by Etta James. They moved together effortlessly, having found their rhythm through all the challenges they had faced together. So, Mrs. Sterling, Vincent said as they swayed to the music, any regrets about giving up your single life? Just one, Jasmine replied with a mischievous smile. What's that? I regret waiting so long to find you. Well, we found each other when we were meant to, Vincent said. Everything that happened before was just preparing us for this. Speaking of what's next, Jasmine said, I have some news. Good news? The best news. The Jenkins case goes to trial next month, and 3 other businesses have contacted me about similar situations. It looks like the Mills conspiracy was even bigger than we thought. That's incredible, Jasmine. You're going to help so many people get their lives back. We're going to help them, Jasmine corrected. Sterling Industries has agreed to provide financial support for victims who can't afford legal representation. Of course we have. We're partners, remember? In everything, Jasmine agreed. As the song ended, they were joined on the dance floor by their family and friends. Vincent's business associates mingled with Jasmine's family, FBI agents danced with city council members, and everyone celebrated the love story that had emerged from such unlikely circumstances. Later that evening, as the reception was winding down, Agent Rodriguez approached them. Mr. and Mrs. Sterling, congratulations on a beautiful wedding. Thank you, Agent Rodriguez, Jasmine replied. Thank you for everything you did to help us. I should be thanking you. The Mills case has led to corruption investigations in 3 other cities. Your work has had a much bigger impact than you know. We're just glad we could help, Vincent said. Actually, I have one more piece of good news. Catherine Mills was sentenced yesterday, 15 years in federal prison, no possibility of parole for 8 years. Vincent and Jasmine looked at each other. They had both testified at Mills' sentencing hearing, and it had been an emotional experience seeing the woman who had tried to destroy their lives finally face justice. That's a good sentence, Jasmine said. She won't be able to hurt anyone else for a long time. No, she won't. And James Patterson received 12 years. Richard Blackwood got 3 years in probation, which was appropriate given his cooperation. As Agent Rodriguez walked away, Vincent and Jasmine stood together watching their friends and family continue to celebrate. Do you ever think about what would have happened if Richard hadn't betrayed me? Vincent asked. Sometimes. But then I realized that if it hadn't happened, we might never have discovered what we mean to each other. So you don't regret any of it? Vincent, the worst day of your life led to the best thing that ever happened to both of us. How could I regret that? Vincent kissed his wife gently. I love you, Mrs. Sterling. I love you too, Mr. Sterling. As they prepared to leave for their honeymoon in Italy, Vincent and Jasmine reflected on the incredible journey that had brought them together. They had started as employer and employee, become partners in a fight for justice, and emerged as husband and wife. Their love story had been born from crisis, tested by danger and strengthened by adversity. They had learned that the most powerful force in the world isn't money or power or influence. It's 2 people who choose to believe in each other completely. Ready for our next adventure? Vincent asked as they got into the car that would take them to the airport. With you? Jasmine replied, I'm ready for anything. And as they drove away into their new life together, both Vincent and Jasmine knew that whatever challenges they might face, they would face them together. They had learned that love isn't just about the easy moments, it's about choosing each other when things get difficult, believing in each other when the world seems against you, and building a life together that honors both of your dreams. Their story had started with betrayal and false accusations, but it had become something beautiful, a testament to the power of truth, justice, and love to overcome even the darkest circumstances. They had found in each other not just romantic love, but a true partnership that made them both stronger, braver, and more capable of making a difference in the world. The Mills conspiracy had been meant to destroy Vincent Sterling, but instead it had led him to Jasmine Washington, the woman who would become his wife, his partner, and his greatest blessing. Sometimes, as they both had learned, the worst things that happen to us are actually the beginning of the best things that will ever happen to us. Dear viewers, thank you so much for joining Vincent and Jasmine on their incredible journey from crisis to love. This story is about more than romance. It's about the courage to stand up for what's right, the power of believing in someone completely, and the beautiful ways that love can emerge from the most unexpected circumstances. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What moment in the story resonated most with you? Have you ever had to choose between playing it safe and doing what's right? Do you believe that our greatest challenges can sometimes lead to our greatest blessings? Which character's journey touched your heart more, Vincent's fight to clear his name, or Jasmine's courage to risk everything for justice? What do you think makes a true partnership in both love and life? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Your insights and reactions mean the world to me, and I love hearing how these characters' stories connect with your own experiences and beliefs about love, justice, and the courage to fight for what matters most.